All right. So this is number 53 of UBI. I find it
Ooh,
funny how we always keep counting. Like,
like
you
there's
know,
some number that like
yeah, like you keep counting, but it's always good.
mm, mm. It's a reminder. Someday you'll be like, this is episode 1000, you know? You there? Nope. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Now I can.
All right.
Okay. You wanna stop and start over?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you not hear me?
But I cannot hear you.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. That's weird.
Now I feel like you did something to your.
I haven't
Ah, maybe
touched
not.
a
Actually, hold a
thing.
second. I think it's me. I
I
think
know
I know
it's
why.
you. I know it's you. I didn't do nothing.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you?
Okay, good, good, good,
Yeah.
good.
I
All
was
right.
like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do nothing. I ain't shifted. I ain't moved.
All right, let's do this again. Welcome to episode 53 of UBI. So, as I said, we're always counting, but you said at some point we're going to reach 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, then that'll be like an exciting count.
Yeah, and then people start referencing back, like, hey, you remember in episode 173, that was when we talked about da 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 da
Listen,
da.
I don't know. Like, I do not remember. I did not commit. I'm a different person. Look, I'm a different person from episode 52. So whatever they heard, okay.
Yeah. So how has it been? It's been a week. How have you been?
Mm, yeah, sim.
Same, same.
Yeah,
I
life,
had life. I mean, as usual.
copy paste. Yeah.
Do you feel like you are getting more introspective, like
Oh,
over time?
like in life, yes. And actually, God, like so much more introspective. So this is sort of like following on our conversation from last week. Like I finally went back to Twitter after 6 weeks, and
That was impressive. You lasted that long.
I know, and it started making me think like, should I just leave Twitter permanently?
Sure, especially now that it's been acquired by the big guy.
By the devil. Um yeah, it's like I think that one stopping my brain from thinking in tweets. So far since I've gone back, I've tweeted maybe like 5 times, something like that. Like there, like I'll have thoughts that I think I should tweet that, right? But one, it's like it's a duller thought, if that makes sense, right? Like when I first left Twitter, it was kind of like tweet this, tweet that, tweet that. My brain is, and I'm like, no, we're not on Twitter, so like I thought I would be texting my friends more of those things, thoughts that would cross my mind. I'm sure I still do, but now some of those thoughts, I'm just like, sit with it. Just like think about it in your head and then like don't tweet it, right? And I just like don't and sort of like just swallow my thoughts, right? But I think I am just thinking a lot more. And I don't know if it's age or if it's like the last month or two of me sort of trying to like partly like quiet my mind, but maybe not quite, just like be with myself, like it's this, it sounds so corny, especially when I talk about the fact that I'm like kind of like taking a step from dating. I'm not like, I don't believe in dating yourself, like that's dumb, that's just like existing and like doing things. But like, when I have thoughts or kind of like sit and think about it and then like talking to my siblings a little bit more, and then just like I don't know. So I do agree that I don't know if it's age or whatever, but I am feeling a lot more introspective and just like sitting with my thoughts.
That is
Think-
interesting. So I guess this leads me to two questions for you. Like, one, why do you, when you think about something, why do you feel the need to tweet it out? Like, I mean, or so I guess even before that, are these thoughts that you would generally just think about, or that will come to you as you just move about your day? Or are you actively thinking about things you can put on Twitter? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's no, I think it's thoughts that like pop in my head, right? Like,
Okay, so if
I,
that is if that is the case, what is the impetus for you to want to put it on Twitter? Like, why
well, I
does it?
mean, I've been on Twitter all of my 20s. Right, I was on Twitter for all of my 20s. I've been on Twitter since 2009. I was 19, right? So like,
Mhm. So you grew up in that generation, like
yeah, like
it's just part and parcel of your
exactly,
existence
exactly. It's
as
like,
an
why do you feel
adult.
the need to text this or email this? Well, like,
Right,
'cause
right.
that's how
That's
we
just
communicate.
right. Like you
But
can't.
beyond that, I know that I'm an external processor. So like I'm not normally a thinking my head and then say it after I've like flushed it all out, right? Like I will, even with work, right? Like I'm trying to do this less because I think it can be annoying when you are speaking to like your boss, where you're like, I got this idea. I haven't thought about it for about 2 seconds. So let me now talk about it and develop it talking to you, right? Because then like your bosses are like, yo, like you go think about it, figure it out, and then come back to me.
Man, you
Like,
will be the most annoying boss ever.
well, like
Like
subordinate.
I mean, like you will be the annoying boss because if you are the boss that has ideas and
And
you
you're
just
talking
come
to
and you're just talking to
yeah,
like
right.
and you're
Like,
talking to your folks,
this and
I'm
that.
like, oh my god, this woman has come again. Like, oh, they will just listen.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm definitely an audio processor where like like I'm not thinking and then coming to talk, like thinking and talking are happening like at the same time. And that is hard for other people because
so
sometimes go ahead.
I guess the question now becomes again. I'm trying to figure out how that relates to Twitter, right? In the sense that if you take away Twitter, you will still be this person
Hmm.
um so I guess the question becomes how would you deal with that? Like, do you talk to yourself to flush out ideas? Like when you tweet, what are you hoping to gain from that? Like what do you like does it
Well,
even matter that anyone responds to it?
it certainly
Or
doesn't. It certainly does not matter if anyone reads it or responds.
okay,
It
so
is, I think what tweeting is like, it's sort of like if you were to um start trying to eat healthy, right? If you're like, okay, I'm gonna start eating healthy, which that analogy works for like me being off Twitter. What'll happen is you're driving and you're gonna drive by the Chick-fil-A or the Jack in the Box or whatever, and you're still eating. You still gotta eat because you're a person who eats, right? But Twitter for me feels like that like fast food experience where you're driving by the drive-through. It's on the side of the road that you're on, so you can just veer and go get it. So like when I'm off Twitter, it's not that I don't eat anymore, but maybe I'm not eating fast food, right? I am processing things a little bit differently, and also that means because and especially if you think about fast food as like also snacking, right? Where it's like
so this is fascinating. So using the fast food analogy,
yeah,
maybe the only thing I will like I'm trying
not
to
a perfect
tease out
analogy because
is
snacks also like maybe better, but I like the like stopping and driving off, like add it to your path. So it's a 2-minute stop as opposed to like, some
so
grand.
but if you go to fast food or snacking or whatever, you're getting something out of that that is tangible that I can see. Also, maybe you're hungry, or you're slightly hungry, and you get some satisfaction from it.
Mm,
So there is some feedback, like you get the fast food, you eat it, you're
yeah.
satisfied by it, and then you move on. In the case of Twitter, when you tweet, what is the feedback? Like,
It's it's the
it's
satisfaction
just
is the
it's
tweeting.
just that you
Right?
tweet. Is the tweet okay? So
Yeah,
that's the
it's like,
satisfaction that you tweeted.
I mean,
It's
of
not.
course, sometimes people respond and then you start having a conversation. Or
Mhm.
sometimes what'll happen is a real life friend will see the tweet and message me about it or have a conversation about it. Also it's just like participating in this like discourse, right? So like maybe I'm Yeah, the problem, the sort of negative, the sort of bloating later part of fast food becomes the fact that with Twitter, especially, like I have found that it negatively impacts my emotions because like I've woken up today. I haven't gone on Twitter today, but like I wake up.
Is that like a big deal for you? Like, wow, I
I
woke when I
know
woke
it
up today, I did
is.
not go. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like I'm trying to keep that way since I got back on, because essentially for the last 6 weeks I haven't woken up and gone on Twitter, right? But that was
Mhm.
because like my Twitter account was like, it wasn't deactivated. I just like basically had my friend change my password and not tell me what the password was. Um, and even though it was such a silly, and that's what I'm trying to remind myself, because even though like my friend had my password, at any time I can go reset my password. But for some reason, the fact that I was like, I'm off Twitter, my friend has my password, I didn't go reset my Twitter. I could have reset it the next day and be like, oh, back to it, right? But it was just like this, you draw this line, as silly as the line may be, it just feels like, hey, do not cross. But
I mean, it's not silly. That is how, if you want to change habits, that is really how you go about it. Like you just, because because at the end of the day, if you're trying to change something that you've consistently done for years, I mean, in your case, you're talking about over a decade.
mhm,
Like you have to, I guess, in your mind, create a barrier, and you
yeah,
know, having to take that extra step because you want to do it. It's not like you don't. You want to do it, and do it in this sense is you want to not go on Twitter as often,
yeah,
or you want to. So you want to do it, and just creating that extra step, maybe just what you need. For some
yeah,
other person, it could be that they need to delete their account.
yeah,
For some other person, it means that they need to like throw away their computer or their phone,
mhm,
like you
yeah.
know. But I mean, it's what works for you at the end of the day. So
Yeah, no, it's just like, but yeah, no, the feedback is just the tweeting. But oh yeah, I was talking about the negative emotion, right? So like what I found even before and which was sort of led to my wanting to leave Twitter for a bit, was I can wake up, I'm having like, I'm good, my body feels fine, I'm getting ready to work, and then I'm seeing tweets about people being miserable at their jobs, right? It's just like a fun light example. Like people are miserable at their jobs, everybody's quiet quitting, everybody's burned out. Do I feel burned out? No, not really. But like from hearing and consuming other people's thoughts on it, like I can be very like, I'm very, I don't know what the word is, but people that like, they watch a movie about some feeling and they're like, well, do I feel that way? Like, if I watch something about narcissists, am I narcissistic? If I watch something about like, bipolar people, I'm like, could I be bipolar? Like it's, like people could have fucking brain cancer. And I'll be like, oh, do I have brain cancer? Like it's just like the way my mind is. And so with Twitter, it's all these thoughts like coming at you, right? And some thoughts, some people are tweeting about some horrible thing that happened somewhere, and now I am, because I'm very empathetic, right? And so like that, it can be a lot where it's like, oh man, this tragedy is happening somewhere else, and now I'm feeling like a little more down, a little more sad, and like, while like it's good to empathize with people, but like you can't empathize with the whole world based on all the things that they're feeling all across the world, because like that's emotionally heavy. And then things that are like, oh, I should be angry about this. Now I'm a little angry. And I'm like, you woke up fine. Like your life itself in your bubble is fine. But all these other things that are going on everywhere else in the world are like messing with your emotions, and like our feelings are like, it's chemical, right? So like now my feelings are impacted, even though they're based on things that aren't really touching me. And so that's part of why like I'm trying to stay off as much as possible. And it's really the timeline. I realize like DMs are fine because like those are like people I know talking to me, and I like that's not much different from text message. But it's like the main timeline, and you read it enough and you feel things and want to say some stuff to people about it. And it's all, again, I want to be at peace more. And part of that is just like my life is fairly peaceful. And so just keeping external, the opposite of peace, I guess, is war, but whatever, like,
turmoil.
external turmoil, exactly. Keeping external turmoil to a minimum, right? Like, and I mean, I think it's a positive, but it could also absolutely be a negative, right? Like, because there are things that are like really sad that are happening in the world, but I'm like, I can't afford to care, because doesn't affect my life. Which again, if you think about it, there are lots of people whose lives are like that who are like, I don't care about this. It doesn't affect my life. You know, like I don't care about COVID. I've worked from home for the last 5 years. Everybody can go, whatever. And it's like, no, you should care. But anyway, I am going on a random aside, but that's where I'm at. You know, that's what's going on with me. What's up with you? How's the you know, introspection? What do you say you've been doing? You've been talking to yourself and thinking, spending time thinking. I said I was going to put that on my
So,
calendar. I haven't yet. But.
so I mean, it's not like I've done any active thinking over the last week. Like I did more of it over the summer. Like
Okay, yeah, that was
so
good.
I did, yeah. So
Season.
that, yeah. So that I was talking about, I did it. I mean, more recently, like I've been, I so also over the summer, I wrote. I don't know if I ever shared this with you. Like I wrote like a blog talking about lessons that I've learned so far. Well, like my
I
lesson to,
saw that. Was that on Substack?
yes,
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah. So um I mean it's from the mundane to the whatever. So
Grandiose.
so yeah, I mean I kind of like spent the summer kind of like putting that together as well. I had a longer list and then I boiled it down
Mm.
to 36 lessons.
36. Okay, I did not read that whole thing. I know
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's interesting, like what you said, all that you said about Twitter, because I do, whenever I go on Facebook, like I do see things that I feel the visceral, like I feel some way or the other about, like, oh my god, I should, like, if somebody were to say that in my presence, I would say something, right?
Mm.
And I can't tell you how many times that I've thought about maybe I should respond, and I'm like, nah, just don't
Yeah,
respond.
it's so.
Like for me, it's not hard to just say nah. Like, like so, like I almost never
Yeah.
comment on social media. Like whether it's on Facebook, I mean Facebook is a hellscape. Like people say nonsensical things on there.
I feel too. I mean, Twitter's worse, but I think Twitter's worse because I can see random people. Like Facebook, I know people say it's a hellscape, but only like when I open the comments of people that I'm like loosely connected to. Then they're crazy friends. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But like, like I like my Facebook friends, like I know these people. Like they don't say too many crazy things. I'm not in many groups. So I feel like my Facebook is actually really tame. Or maybe
Yeah,
I've deleted all the problematic people. Maybe that's what it
yeah.
is.
Maybe you don't get as much of the crazy stuff. And quite frankly, I don't go on Facebook as much anymore at all. And when
Mm.
I go, I don't really see anything too crazy. But I just remember like a while ago, like it just felt like,
It used to, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like
And
you're just
we
reading
all used to be
nonsensical
on it
people
more.
saying crazy things. So, but Twitter, I'm not a big Twitter consumer like that at all. But
Mm.
so for me, I've generally been insulated from all of this crazy, all of the craziness. Like I understand how people are addicted to it and how
Yeah.
people can just fall into that rabbit hole of social media and whatnot. But as far as I'm concerned, I've always felt like, you know what, this is it's not, yeah, like I haven't consumed it in a way that I've found deleterious to what I'm trying to do. Now, on the other hand,
Ooh, deleterious. Big words. For
after
those
all,
who are listening,
after
damaging,
after after
destructive,
after
negative.
after all, I have a law degree. I should be able
I
to
gotta
like
use
speak
it
it.
somewhere.
I should be able, I should have some vocabulary
Gotta
that is a
use
little
it
bit outside of
somewhere.
the norm.
Oh Lord.
I
Sound like
should
a
have.
Nigerian senator.
If you're a politician, you can't be talking
Deleterious.
like that because nobody's going to understand what the hell you're talking
They
about.
do though, because they don't want to be understood.
Well,
They're
I mean, if you're a politician, you're an idiot. Or if you're someone whose job it is
those
to,
Nigerian like professors that it's just like, why are you talking like this?
if you're a person whose job it is to convince people of something, you should definitely not be talking like that.
To speak simply.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna? I was gonna mention something on a quite different. Oh, do you know SK?
So not, I think I've met him once or twice before,
Okay.
but I know people that know him very well.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you're watching Love Is Blind. So
No,
I
I,
know him. I not very well, but like like I know him, he knows me, he knows that I know him. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a random because we used to live in Austin. I met him when I was studying for the bar. And then like he stayed in Austin. And so like we have a ton of mutual friends. And then like we've chatted on, here and there randomly.
like
But
someone was talking to me about him yesterday, like literally, like
oh yeah,
yesterday.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you, me, him, several. Like we're all in the same, like,
Six
Texans.
degrees of separation, or
Six,
maybe
like
it's
two,
two or
two.
1 degree.
Yeah, no, like I mean, actually, one, right? Like one of our mutual friends was on the show as like when they bring. I don't know if you've ever watched full season, but there's a bit
Mm-mm.
where they like have your friends come to like for like a bachelor party or to help you pick out your clothes, that kind of stuff. So another one of our friends and his wife were on that little piece. And like I mean, yeah, like I know him well. And like again, I wouldn't are we friends? Like I don't remember other than the first time we met. I don't think he and I have hung out one on one, and that usually is like, and that's kind of an interesting sort of topic. But like that's like, how do you define whether you're friends with someone or not? And like the casual friend, right? Like, and because I know some people that like we're in the group of 5 friends for a long time, but then I'm like me and this person I've never sat down one on one and hung out, certainly not by choice. Like maybe if everybody else is later, we're sitting there. But so typically, I'm always like, "Am I friends with this person?" I'm like, "Oh, we're in the same group of friends, and we talk, and they certainly call me or they text me, and I text them or call them or social media and all that." But if we haven't like intentionally spent one-on-one time together, it makes me pause because I also then think also I don't think they would say, "Oh yeah, we are friends." And if they do, then they're probably people with a looser definition of the word friends.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are like friend. Now, I only refer to people as friends if like I met their mama, their mama met my mama, and it's like, oh well, that's intense. Like that's like family.
Yeah. So what were you gonna say about him?
I was just gonna ask if you're watching the show. It's like really interesting. His part is done now. I won't drop any spoilers, but
I don't care.
oh well, not for you, for people
Well,
who are
for people that are
listening.
listening, yeah. Go and watch.
It's I mean, Love Is Blind. For those who don't know, it's the idea is that two people are expected to make, or people are expected to make emotional connections through without seeing one another's face, or body, I guess, or anything. And so then they get engaged before they meet in person, and then the idea is they have 4 weeks to turn that sort of emotional connection to a physical and everything else connection and get married in 4 weeks. SK, who's Nigerian, and like so I think the show is definitely trying to like make it a little more interesting at some because at some point the template is the same, right? So now the individual people have to be interesting, and then Netflix is trying to add like a layer of like culture and stuff. So last season there were two Indians, a man and a woman, and they ended up getting engaged. They were stupid to me because they both had never dated Indians. They both like two Indians who only date white people now meet on this show and go, "Oh my god, yeah, like bro, like." One of your biggest things in common cannot be that we are two Indians that date white people. Like that's just like, what are you even doing?
Oh, Ayo is they've come for her.
I'm my enemies. So right, I was like, I'm talking shit about these people. So they connect based on that. Eventually, all does not work out. But the cool thing is, at least visually, is they did the like she went and got like a sari and all of that for the wedding. So like they had that to make it like visually not just a bunch of like people in men in tuxes and women in white dresses. And so with SK, he did the whole what I'll say like is my favorite part, and I think because I know him, um I'm more sensitive to people like trying to talk shit about him. It's so weird because like, I mean, I do think it's important for people to remember, especially like when we talk on Twitter and stuff, that like these people are real people. Like they have friends. Like they're not just like these random face, celebrities that we're comfortable talking crap about. It's like these like reality show people are like normal people to the extent that you think someone who goes on reality TV is normal. Um, but at least in SK's case, I like that he's he's not a stereotypical like TV Nigerian. If that makes
What
sense,
does that?
right?
What does
Like,
that? What does that mean?
I
Like,
just feel like he's like chill. He's like, I mean, of course he is. Like that's just who he is, and like, of course we all know Nigerians like that. I just feel like I would have expected if they would have put a Nigerian on a TV show like that, that it would have, and because like it was, like he was eating amala with the girl who's not Nigerian that he like got engaged to. He was like teaching her words in Yoruba, like he wore, agbada for the wedding. His friends were there wearing like, this native, the girls, the bridesmaids all wore gele. So it was very visually, they were like, oh, we're going to like really try to do this Nigerian thing, right? Um, so it was like, okay, this is the Nigerian representative on Love is Blind, right? Probably will be the only one for a while. So to have that and then his personality, I just feel like a lot of shows like they'll be like, oh, we're going to have the Nigerian, the Yoruba demon, the like.
basically, you were afraid that it's going to disgrace you.
Exactly.
It's going to be a bad. It's going to be a bad representative of like.
Or that they were going to cut it that way. Because again, like, I know enough about him. And again, you don't really, really know people well, right? Like, we all don't know people as well as we think we do. But I'm glad that how he came off on the show rings true to like what I know about him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in addition, it was good to see it because I was like, what if they cut in some like random, or what if he's a bigger, what if he's an asshole? What if he comes off as a villain, right? It's like, oh, the Nigerian villain, like Sheikh, the Indian guy from last season. He was the villain of that season, right? And so I was like, oh Lord, please don't let SK end up being like some kind of show villain or whatever, or makes Nigerians look bad, or pisses off Nigerians, because that's another thing you don't want to do is you do this show, the rest of the world loves you, and Nigerians are like, how dare he say this about us, But so far it seems like that's not happening, although I'm not paying attention to like tweets and stuff about it. I'm not like, because before I would have searched on Twitter to see what people are saying about this. Like I've seen one or two things, but like nothing really crazy. So that's good. But all in all, I do enjoy the show. It's like the only dating reality love whatever type show that I did watch The Ultimatum, which was a like train wreck. People give their partners ultimatum, marry me or else I leave, and then Netflix is like, how about we do that on TV? It was insane. But anyway, needless to say, I don't consume a ton of reality TV, but Love is Blind is one that I enjoy. And it's like, the goal is to like marry, which is kind of nuts. Like 4 weeks and you just I kept imagining like telling my parents that I was doing that.
We're doing part that you're going to get married in 4 weeks, or that you're going on a dating show.
Well, all of it, right? Because like you are going on the show with the expectation that you might. I mean, of course, lots of people go and they don't. There's usually like, this season I think 5 people got engaged, 5 couples, which means 5 out of 15 potential couples. So 20 people went home, like, and that's. I don't know what I would hope. I mean, I thought there was a Houston casting, and I thought about doing it actually.
You should definitely go. You should definitely go on it whenever they come back.
I mean, the Houston one, I think they've probably already filmed it now. But needless to say, I don't think that I would like it. Like, I think that the experiment and all of that part could be interesting, but I think it's the camera part and the it now turning into episodes part that I would not like. I'd be like, please delete all the footage. Thank you.
I think you're gonna get used to the cameras being there, and at some point,
Sure. My problem is that then a year and a half later, because I do not want to be famous, right? Like I don't want to be recognized, and you can't do a show like that And especially if you end up being part of the couples that like get engaged and all that, like people start recognizing you. And I don't like that. And I don't want like it just,
Or
and
you don't want to be famous for that.
I don't want to be famous, period, but certainly not for that. And
You're like, oh, I saw you on the show. Like,
because it's intense, right? Like you're talking about yourself.
They're like, how is Antoine? How is your fiance?
Right. I'd be like, who? Oh, but it's too much, right? Like I would rather be, if I had to be famous, I'd rather be famous for playing a character that at least we all know that was fiction. But this, like, they are going on these dates, right? So think about it. If every date you ever had with one person or like a couple of people actually, but all of those dates are filmed. Now Netflix is going to film, let's say 40 hours of me talking. And then they are going to select which part of that to take, like, to put in permanent, like, because I think that's the part that would scare me the most is I like many people say things that are problematic or feel things that are problematic. But if they film me for 40, if anyone films me for 40 hours talking, who's to say that the 3 hours of all of that content that they put out is parts that look good?
No, it's not about looking good. They're going to put out parts that they think
that's what I'm saying. So now I talk for 12 hours about peace and loving, like being around my friends and enjoying and living life and all of that. And then I talk for one part about how it bothers me when people buy
babies,
jewelry, or have babies, right? And that becomes like, I was thinking, I was like, if I did Love is Blind, literally all they would ever say about me would be me talking about not wanting kids. And that's actually a good example, right? Like I talk about not wanting kids, and then I'm talking for the rest of the thing about how much like I care for my brothers and how much I like love my niece, and they cut all of that stuff out. And then one time I maybe say something about like, oh, having to babysit my niece sometimes when maybe I have other things I want to do. Then they're like, look, this baby hating monster. And it's like, no, like love the kid. Like, then people will go on my social media and be like, wow, look at all these pictures she's posted with her niece. She's trying to make it look like she likes her niece, but she actually hates her. And it's like, what? Like that. I think people call it the villain edit. Like that, I would be terrified to get the villain edit on a reality TV show, because it's not like you have your own camera crew following you around to be like, look, that comment was in context. Nah, bruh, miss me. But it would be interesting. I definitely believe that people at the end of those like things, they feel real love, right? Like they do feel, because like, it's intense. It's designed to make you feel and connect with another person. I think like I would absolutely do Love is Blind if like they would throw away the videos afterwards. Be like, okay, we lost all the tapes. Cool. That's all good. Found love or didn't.
Yeah, that's not a thing. That's not Love is Blind. So okay.
Yeah.
So so you wouldn't go on a dating show, but I mean, is it for me? I can't imagine myself going on any kind of like a freaking dating show or anything like that. But what I can imagine a scenario where I'm on like I'm on TV or Netflix or whatever, talking about some other kind of subject matter, right? Like maybe I'm just talking about, I don't know, startups or strategy, whatever the case may be. I don't know.
Boring.
Yeah. So,
but that doesn't go viral either. Like you could report on CNN. You could be
or I can actually imagine myself talking about music or playing music. Like I in the past I would be super self-conscious about that.
Yeah.
But these days, like I wouldn't mind putting my music out there. I don't care whether people think it's good or bad. Like it's just,
that's different, right? Like it's like I tweet, right? Like my thoughts out there, but like I think no, reality TV is because especially when it's something that has the potential to go viral, right? Like that's the thing that would like scare me, because I've done.
Have you ever had anything that went viral before?
Like there was a tweet. I mean, I don't think it went viral, but I've had a couple of tweets that like went outside of the outside of the circle, right?
Mm.
Like it's like that went just like, "Ooh, okay." Like one was just funny. It was a picture of like this Nigerian grocery store, restaurant, whatever, had like a Mexican fried rice display. It's so silly because I was like, what is this? So I tweeted something like Mexican fried rice at Hub Mart, a dish so rare you can't even find it in Mexico, something like that. And like it got like thousands of retweets and like I think impressions last I looked was like almost 250,000 impressions. Just like a lot. So it's just like stuff like that. But like I mean this is like early internet before like viral was a thing, and this definitely didn't go viral. But I have a couple of things that are like I'm in on YouTube. So one of them is a documentary from I think 2012 maybe about like dating and like the challenges of dating. Um like I randomly like some vlogger that I followed was like they're doing this thing. They like came into my house with a camera crew and everything. Like I watched, it was good, but it never like I don't think it ever got really like popular. Which is perfectly fine. Like now I kind of want to find. I don't remember what it was called, but I have to find it now because I'm curious. I mean, now it's been 10 years. Like the things I said in that, are they still true? Like were they bullshit? Um, and then, oh, in college, we did this for like our African Student Association. We did this like mock real world thing. It was a whole thing. Like we shot it and then we edited it for an event we did on campus. So we like taped it and showed it on campus, but then we put it on YouTube just so it could like live somewhere. And I think that's all of like my YouTube ness.
Mm.
People keep asking me to do like travel content, but I think that the heart of it is I realized that like I travel for me and I don't really want to like build and create content while I travel.
Right. Like if you start doing content, like you will travel differently.
Yeah, and it changes again. It's like now the voice in your head is different, right? It's like, and even now, I mean, all I have, I have a travel Instagram page, but like, even then, sometimes I'm like, oh man, this is so beautiful. You should try to at least like do something more. Like, I would hate for like my, almost allowing your web presence about that thing to now become like your boss. Right now, it's like, oh no, man, you gotta like that restaurant that the food was okay. You now got to go back and film content there because like, wow, it was so beautiful, and it's like want to do other things and see other things. But to those who do it, I'm glad they do because they certainly do be giving some of us ideas about where to go. But I also don't follow nearly enough people like that. I don't like make my travel itinerary based on like I don't do a ton of research for our travel. I'm just like, look, Valencia is Valencia, right? Like I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna see the things. I'm gonna do the things I like to do, which involve walking tours, and it's gonna be it. I'm not gonna like create some impossible itinerary based off what a YouTuber says you have to do in Valencia. Like, doesn't make sense. So
All right.
that's why.
So, um, I've been thinking. One of the things I've been thinking about is about communication, right, or miscommunication, if you
Mm.
will. From your, but I feel like I have found the key to communication.
You're insane. This is hilarious. I want to hear this because you're like, I have found the answer to
The
all.
answer, like you don't understand, like
Yeah,
I've found the
I get it.
answer to the answer to many
You got
things.
secure.
The
All right,
key,
tell me about it.
the key to miscommunication, like the reason why people miscommunicate. So I'm making a distinction between miscommunication and having a legitimate issue with someone because of what they said,
Mm. Okay.
right? So, or because of what they did, right? Whatever having a legitimate issue with someone because of what they communicated to you, there wasn't a miscommunication, and you had whatever reaction you had to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the key to miscommunication is the fact that parties do not interpret.
That sounds like a legal conversation. Parties do not interpret. I'm listening.
Yes, like whoever is doing the communication, especially whoever is receiving the communication, is not they're not interpreting whatever the other person is communicating to them in the most positive light. So the example that I give is, if you think about the most, the person that you get along with the most, whether it's your friend, your best friend, da, 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 there will be a lot of BS that you accept for that from that person that you
Yes.
wouldn't get upset about. And the reason is because, I mean, the reason could be for many reasons. One, because you like that person. Two, because you know that person, you understand that person. If that person says F you or whatnot, even if they're upset, there is a different way that you're going to receive that as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to a different person. So, but if you are in a relationship where it's going sour with that same person could be doing the same thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you are reacting to it differently. So that is the key to miscommunication, or the key to go. So based my point, if we as a society, as a world, even if you talk about people that do diplomacy, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
if we are interpreting what, regardless of what somebody tells you, if you say, okay, what is the most positive, given the circumstances, what's the most positive way I can
Mm-hmm.
interpret this?
Yeah.
A lot of things, like, we would understand ourselves better, because even if you feel like, wow, that is interesting, what it would what you're more likely to do if you're interpreting it in the most positive light is to try and clarify rather than react
Yeah.
in a certain way.
Yeah. At the heart of it, right? Like when we miscommunication is a lot of different things, right? Like it's sort of like we know what communication is. Miscommunication is everything that could go wrong. Like I think, okay, so how you feel and what's going on with you is a big part of how you understand what someone said, right? Like we can, in the context of like, either like romantic partners or like with siblings or whatever, right? Like it's kind of like, look, if I'm already kind of having a bad day or if I'm got whatever else going on, what you say is being interpreted in the context of all of those things that you don't know, right? So you said to me, you always, you're always so busy. You're always too busy for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you say that to me as I'm like trying to like figure out my schedule for the week and how to juggle all these things. It's like it can be annoying. You say that after you just talked about like how much free time you have, and I'm talking about how stressed I am with work. It's like I'm like, yeah, of course I'm always so busy because I got things going on, and you don't, you're always asking me for money because you don't do nothing, whatever. Whereas like maybe that person just means that like maybe they're starting it off. Actually, I have a interesting example from my life, but I don't know how that if I want to talk about this. But just like if the person could absolutely mean it from a place of like, hey, like how, you're always so busy. How do I figure out how to like really sit down and talk to you, right? Like, but part of it is also we know the other thing is, see, and we know people. Like I know some of my friends and they say certain things, I'm like, I have actually funny example. This is like almost, it's not like unrelated, but it's kind of related. So I have a friend who lives in Chicago, a friend, like a girl I know fairly well, who lives in Chicago. She had posted a couple of weeks ago something on Instagram. I got to try to find it now about like how the weather, right? Like it was very cold that day in Chicago. And it was one of those days where in Houston, it was like, you know, 82 degrees and just wonderful, right? So she posts, man, it hasn't pulled up. She posts something about the weather, and I said, it's a wonderful 82 degrees here. And as soon as I said that, I knew that that was like an asshole thing to say, right? She's freezing cold, talking about how it's, um, whatever. Oh, I said it's 71 degrees in Houston. That's all I said. And so for context, she is not Nigerian, but she's lived in Nigeria. I met her living in Nigeria. She's Black American. And she responds, "May your village people come for you." I had to put my phone down because I was like for those who are not Nigerian who are listening to this, it's like it's one of those expressions. If you live in Nigeria, you've heard people say, like, people don't say, "May your village people come for you," right? People say, "Oh, my village people are trying to get me," and it's kind of like my enemies, my ops, if you will, if you're my brother's age and you're listening to this, they're gonna get you, right? Like people talk about it more in the like, I hope my village people don't come for me. Like, I hope my ops don't get me. Like, nobody ever is really like, may your village people get you. Like, that's like one just really, really disrespectful to say and like mean, but it's like it's deeper than that, right? Like, it's like, the way like Westerners talk about like ancestors. It's like it's kind of like your ancestors will destroy you. It's like, whoa, like that's a little aggressive. And so I read the comment, and I mean, I knew that my comment about the weather in Houston was kind of like, that was not very nice, but it's like a lightweight thing you say to people. Like, I always talk shit about Chicago weather. Like, it's like, yeah, I have great food, but your weather is terrible. Come to Houston, right? So I read that, and I had to remind myself. And even now, it's been about a month or like 3 weeks since she said this. And sometimes I'll remember it, and then I just have to quickly remind myself. I'm like, Ayo, she's not American. She's not Nigerian. She does not understand the weight of what she's just said. But she understands it enough that she said it, because I don't think it's an expression that like when she lived in Lagos, people are not like, your village people are going to get you. Like, it's a curse. It's like a curse, right? And I know she's never heard that because that's not the thing that people say. She's heard people say they hope it doesn't happen. And like for her, it was like just like the most aggressive thing she could say. But it's kind of wild because I had to think like, okay, I came at her in a way that she ain't like, and she had to come at me differently. And now instead of me being like, yo, what the fuck? I literally responded to her. And this, I don't even know if this is miscommunication. I said, wow, that's aggressive. And then I thought about it, and then I said, I'm sorry your weather is shitty. You're welcome down south any day. Because I was like, you know what? The only reason she said this to me is because she took my comment. I didn't say, I hope you freeze your ass off. All I said was it's 71 degrees in Houston, which, is a factual statement. But was that the right thing to say to someone who was talking about freezing cold? It's just kind of an interesting little little experiment, right? Because I have to be like, don't be mad at her. She's not Nigerian. She understands to a certain extent the weight of what she was saying, but certainly not at the level that another Nigerian would. Because I can't imagine a Nigerian saying that to me in response. Like, they would be like, man, fuck you, right? Like, that's fine. But like saying like your village will get you, I had to be like, hey, God forbid. Because it's like, whoa, like that's intense. You don't know the hate in my village people. It's kind of like saying I hope you die. Like, because village people be trying to kill you, So anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about with village people.
You can't relate.
But
that's interesting. I feel like you can relate. You just lying. Like it's a thing. Look, my village people. I don't know.
But I the old village people thing. I don't understand why people take that so serious. Like, really, like it's 2020. Nobody cares. Like, no village people is.
The village people care. They be trying to get you.
No, nobody's getting you. Like,
you don't know this.
Even if nobody's got your time. Like, even if they're gonna get you, where are they coming from? That they coming from
village? What you mean?
They're coming from village all the way to Houston. Like, you know.
They're not physically coming. They ain't gotta physically come. They just gotta, and then it's done. No, yeah. I have a healthy respect for that stuff. I don't play around with it. I don't it's like voodoo and juju and all these things. I don't fully discount it. Partly because,
but there is nothing you can do. If somebody says me your village, like, there is literally.
I mean, right? No, that sentence does not. But it's the weight of it, right? It's sort of like if someone got mad at you and said, I hope your wife leaves you.
So that
statement don't make my wife leave me, but damn, bro, like.
So that goes to the key of what we're talking about, right? Like, communication and miscommunication. It really depends on how you interpret it. if you're looking at it and it's like, wow, that that comes from a place of hate and from a place of someone wanting something terrible to happen to me, and especially if you believe that that is going to happen to you, because there are many ways you can also
Yeah, I mean,
look at it and be like,
yeah.
I don't care what this person thinks of me. Like, he wishes ill on me, but your wish doesn't have any bearing on what would actually happen. Like, I don't care. You're just a lunatic yelling on the side of the street. Like,
But
you
it
can.
would matter. It would matter if you, even if someone said, "I hope your plane crashes." That wish cannot make my plane crash. But the fact that they said it is a problem. Like, it's, I don't know, it's like, now if a random person on the street said, "I hope y'all," if I was rushing to the airport and I cut someone off and then they said, "I hope your plane crashes, you whatever," I don't care about that because I don't, like, this is a random person, right? I think it's the combination of someone who is not in effect terminating your relationship by making that statement. It's like, yo, like, don't say that to people that you like continue to interact with, because like that's not okay. That's how I feel about it. Like, this comment, and like whatever village people I have, probably one hopefully like me, but even if they don't, like, her comment isn't gonna make them now become successful at whatever evils they are planning. But it's just not a nice thing to say. It just felt like a much meaner thing than she realized.
Yeah, so this goes to the crux of what I was talking about, right? Like, in that, you know, when it comes to miscommunication or interpreting what people say one way or the other, like I guess the culprit here is not really that you have to like what somebody says to you, or that you have to interpret it like it has to be something positive. Like, someone can say something really bad,
Mm.
and that will speak, that will still be a thing that you will have to deal with, because you know however you want to deal with it. Like, you should, you want to talk to them about it, you shouldn't have said this hurt me.
Yeah.
You want to change your relationship about them, but at the end of the day, but there's a lot of communication in between that, where from someone saying something that is mundane to somebody saying something that is really, really bad. But most of the stuff is really in between, where you're trying to figure out, like, okay, um
Like, am
what
I
is
tripping? Am I overreacting?
exactly. So, but anyway, that, my friends, is the key to avoiding miscommunication. So that is
The
that is
So the key is trying to understand where they're coming from.
interpreting whatever they say in the most positive light that you can.
It's hard though, right? Like, that's not so easy because, like, I mean, so I read something that, I mean, I can't figure out how to apply this. This is an episode where maybe we need what's his name comment on. Someone said that, like, the key to like a successful marriage, or one of the keys, I guess, in the realm of communication, is like giving the other person the benefit of the doubt,
That's
right?
actually it. What I'm saying is essentially that.
Yeah, no, that's essentially what you're saying, right? And it's like, it's so it's powerful. And I think that once some people, you realize they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt anymore because of like continuous, if I give you the benefit, if I assume, like, imagine if I reach out to my friend and say, like, that was a really like that bothered me because, like, and I understand that you're not, and if she said, no, 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 I understand that it meant, I wish the heavens will fall on you, right? And I wish hell will pour over you. Like, if they said that, right, I'd be like, oh, so you did mean it. So now my benefit of the doubt was like too kind, because you actually did mean it that way. But I think generally, like, for people that you like are going to be in community and relationship with, family, friends, whatever, like, giving them the benefit of a doubt is so important. But man, like, some people, you just like quickly realize, like, no, they meant it exactly how I took it. Because that's really the heart of it, right? It's like, did you take this differently from how the person meant it? Once you can understand the person's intentions, you're like, no, When they said, I hope you die, they meant they meant in my heart of hearts. I hope that you die. And then you're like, okay, you gotta like stop messing with those people. But I think that to your point, 9 out of 10 times the intensity to which we're taking stuff is like a lot different. It's more than the person meant it. Because you have to like extricate your feelings, whatever is going on with you, all of that, to be like, okay, what did they actually mean when they said this? But
Yeah, exactly. I mean, an ideal situation, right? This would be going both ways. So the person saying something is a little more sensitive about what they're saying, especially if it is like in a potentially explosive situation. And then the person receiving is also interpreting whatever they're receiving in a light that is favorable to the person saying it. So if, I mean, in a perfect world, that would be what we all will be doing with each other, basically practicing, exercising patience and maybe some people might say being graceful
mm, mm,
or just being empathetic to the other person's point of view. But we obviously do not do that. So that is that. But
it's
anyway,
hard. It's hard because part of it is also, and this is the part we haven't even touched on, part of it is we think, I mean, there's a thing about how, like, when you're late, it's because of all these things that were unavoidable. When other people are late, it's because they're like terrible people, right? Like, we don't give people the grace that we want to be given to us. But sometimes also because we know that if I were to say that, I would mean it in the worst possible way. So part of it is we are interpreting people's words through our lens, which is like, well, yeah, maybe if you said go fuck yourself, you meant that in like the worst way, because you're like, well, I'm not the kind of person who says stuff like that. Well, maybe they are, right? Because I also have some friends like good friends where they be like, man, fuck you, right? Like, and they mean it like in a friendly, heartwarming way. But the day they piss me off and they say that, I'm like, and then you told me to go fuck myself, and that was mean. And it's like, yeah, but like that's how y'all talk to each other. Like it's established norms. But I think communication is obviously like so important because it affects everything, right? Like it's not just like intimate partners or family, it's like work. It's like, man, like a coworker says something, I'm like, is she mad because I responded to this email that she hadn't gotten to? Then I have to be like, no, maybe when she said, oh, thanks for handling that, she actually meant thanks for handling that. And my sensitive self is all, I don't know if
exactly.
yeah, I feel like I've cursed a lot today. I don't know if I normally curse this much. We bleep things out. Sorry, it's just coming back to me. I'm like, I said a lot of F bombs. I'm sorry, mama. I don't think my mother actually cares if I curse. I don't think that's the thing she cares about. Anyway, but she be alright.
Should be all right. But anyways, I think we're right on the hour mark, and
Yeah, I gotta get to paid employment.
yes, we've come to the end of the show. Any last words for the folks?
Man, just live, love, laugh.
All right. On that note, stay safe, everyone.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.